Hi guys, and welcome back to another video of Crypto Scoop FM. Stock markets are pumping. They're at an all-time high. Bitcoin is pumping. It's almost at its all-time high. But what the F is happening to the TAO Bittensor ecosystem? And how can we play around and still make money? So in this video, I'm going to give you some insights and a strategy on how you can actually keep your TAO safe and at the same time make money betting and trading Bittensor subnet alpha tokens. So we're going to look at the data, we're going to understand what's happening with the TAO ecosystem overall, and then we'll talk about this specific strategy. So stick around till the end to find out more about this. With that, let's dive in. So I'm going to share my screen now and walk you through. Oh, and I forgot almost that nothing that I say here should be construed as investment advice, life advice, or any kind of trading advice. I'm just a guy sitting in his room making videos of things that I'm passionate about. So if you're gonna make any financial decisions listening to and acting upon the data that I'm gonna share, then it's all on you. I have no liability whatsoever. So with that, now let's dive in. All right, guys. So a bunch of interesting, things happening in the Bittensor ecosystem. But as always, I want to start with this, notional index that I've been talking about. A bunch of TAO subnets that we have discussed so far. And a lot has changed in the last couple of days since I last updated the spreadsheet. As you can see that we're still pretty much in the red. Like many of these subnets are down like mid to high double digit. I mean, like look at TensorProx. It has lost almost 51% of its value. Subnet 16 hash tensor has lost like 4% of its value. Ridges has lost 32% of its value. But there has been this standout performer here, which at the time of talking about this, when I made my previous video, and you can find it right here on the top right corner, was trading at 0.92 cents. And today it's trading at almost $8, $7.96. So that's a 765% return, guys. I think that's an incredible return. And so if I had created an index of TAO subnets and invested based on the current market cap, weighted average across all of them, I would have had a total return of 459% on my portfolio, simply because this one subnet was an outlier. And so what you need to understand looking at this is not that Subnet 63 Alpha token trader exchange was a great investment, which it was, but the real theme is you would have lost money on 10 out of 12 opportunities simply because there is nothing working to show any kind of conviction in the alpha subnet ecosystem. So we're going to look into the data. We're going to look at the specifics on what really is happening there, and we're going to talk about that. But I really want to first look at the broader TAO chart now. So, if I go next to the TAO USDT, and I was looking at it earlier today, if you see these two lines which I have added superimposed on this chart, the blue line indicates the simple moving average taking the last price of the last 50 days, and the orange line that you see is the simple moving average of prices over the last 200 days. And you can see right here they have created what is known as a golden cross. Right here they have created a golden cross. Let me just change the color so you can see the screen thing. And it's interesting that even though they made this it made a golden cross, which is usually a precursor to a bullish phase for a chart. When the 50-day moving average crosses from the bottom the 200-day moving average. And we did see a little price kind of going up at this point for a little bit. But since then, we can already see, that the price actually fell. So what's really happening here? What's happening here is while it did create this, nice golden cross, which is always good to see in a chart, it wasn't able to hold up because the price fell. And not only did the price fall, it fell so much that it almost reversed, right? If I just make this chart a little bit, you can see both here 200-day and 50-day moving average prices are going down. You can also see here that, if I can kind of just zoom out, and, this caught my attention, but if we do a little bit of a volume analysis, we'll see that that in all of the previous pumps that we have seen for TAO, there was absolutely ridiculous volume, right? Almost negligible. And so we saw a lot of volume at this point in time, which means when the price was somewhere around between 350 and 220, and probably a lot of accumulation has happened at this phase. Then we saw the price again go up while volumes were again dipping, right? So this happened, and then the price has fallen considerably, even though there has not been much activity happening on the volume side. Again, we are seeing the same formation happen. So when I look at this chart, it's two things are very clear to me, right? One, we are in a bullish phase. So if we don't see a trend reversal soon, I think it could easily go to what has been the longest support range for TAO, which is 215 220. As you can see, it has had support between most of March. It had support in between June and August of 2024. It also had support right here in January of 24. If this breaks, then there is every probability, if we don't see bullish momentum back, and there is no evidence of it because there's no volume, and until we see significant volumes happening, this is not going to happen. And I was talking to one of my trader friends who was looking at it at this chart. He said the folks who acquired a lot of TAO here, right, unless you flush them out, meaning there the price goes even below 170, 160, these guys won't sell, and until they are flushed out, you will not see a new rally happen, which was an interesting perspective. And so if the bearish trend continues, this could even, he was even more bearish than I was, and he said it could go to these last, initial price ranges of 48 and 50. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's interesting to kind of keep that in mind, right? And it's clear right now with this golden cross was pretty much a fake, and we're already seeing price dip to almost 270 to 80, although it is currently trading at 323 after kind of recovering a bit. So clearly, from a trading perspective, from a markets perspective, we're seeing TAO being much more volatile in comparison to Bitcoin and ETH. And so I was actually also looking at, let me just also add this. If I add BTC to comparison here, and then I also add ETH for comparison, right? Let me add ETH for comparison. So add USD. Sorry, did it? Oh, yes. So you can already see that, if I just zoom in for the last, maybe till from June, right? So, oh, I'm sorry. Let me just zoom in a bit. So I'll come in, and let's watch the chart from May. And you can clearly see, right, since May, it's extremely visible that while, ETH and BTC outperformed, right, TAO has actually taken a different route, right? ETH was up 31% since the 8th of May. And if we bring this even further, like let's enter June. So I think this is the 1st of June. You can clearly see that while BTC was up 2.4%, ETH was down 4%. TAO was worse. Like it fell like 3 times more than Ethereum. So it's very clear that Bitcoin at this stage has completely like delineated from the overall market, but TAO is extremely volatile. It was not able to hold up to its prices, and it has consistently, folded almost like a pack of cards. So this is where we are. I drew up this little chart. I used ChatGPT. I gave it the chart and I asked it, okay, what are the different support and resistance levels? And you can see them on the screen, right? So you have a resistance at 450, which was, coincidentally, if I go back to the chart and kind of zoom out again, right? And let me just turn these off. So let me take this off again. So, and this, all right. So Let's look at what's happening to TAO. Let me see. Oh, okay. What the fish? What the fish? Let me go back again. Go back. All right. So here we are. So 450, right? Which is somewhere around here, which was the last peak, somewhere around here, where we're seeing like consistent resistance. So this is the first support, last resistance. There's also resistance at 397 and 375, which if you look here, 397 is the 50-day simple moving average for TAO, and 375 is the 200-day moving average for TAO. And you can already see that this is kind of creating a resistance zone where the price is testing the 375 zone but not able to go across. So this is going to be a key indicator for us to see if it will achieve a new all-time high. In terms of support, again, it gave 3 points at 300, 275, 240, which I already discussed. So I personally think this could go down even further unless we see some reason for TAO to pick up demand. But I think before picking up demand, it will first have to flush out a lot of buyers at these ranges. So yeah, not a good news for TAO bulls at this point. Next, I want to talk about a few fundamentals around TAO. Since the ultimate low on the fear and greed index on the 22nd of June, when the fear and greed index dropped to 24, and we saw an absolute bloodbath on subnets. This has now consistently increased over the last couple of days. So from 24, it has added 8 points. It's now at 32. It's still in the fear zone, as you can see. People are still fearful of participating in subnet alpha tokens, and I'll show you exactly in a second, what's happening. So if we look at the sum of alpha prices, you can already see it's almost at an all-time low. Although it is beginning to trend up now, it is still way below the levels it was in earlier this month, when we were seeing some kind of a little rally happening on the subnet. So from 1.5 on 2 weeks back, it is now at 1.36. So that's a 0.14 point drop. If we also look at like TAO injected over reserves, we can clearly see that that there's a 21% difference between how much there is in reserves over how much is being injected, which means it's very clear that people are not investing or staking their TAO in subnets in exchange for alpha tokens. And so it's very clear that there is very little conviction to hold and keep many of these subnet alpha tokens. You can also see from the next chart right here that the root TAO, which was somewhere around 5.5 in the earlier 2 weeks back, dipped to like 5.4. Then we saw a sudden spike right here, right? So a lot of like TAO kind of moved away from alpha subnets into root TAO because that's safe, that gives you a consistent yield, and I think it makes sense to do it at this point in time, like because there is so much volatility, because it's unclear how the broader markets are going to perform, whether we're going to have a rate cut in the US, whether we're going to have these things which will propel liquidity back. I think most of the people would simply just keep away and would be smart enough to hold root at this stage. Again, if we come down, we have this chart, which is the average of alpha prices in TAO across all subnets, and we can clearly see it's a trending down chart, again indicating less participation, less trading activity, and almost an evaporation of conviction again, guys. So every chart, every fundamental indicator is pointing to the fact that there is a general decline and fear amongst the subnet alpha token holders and traders to participate in this economy. I also want to show you right there, but there is an interesting trend. Like these three charts kind of talk about a different story. There has been a general reduction in the percentage of TAO in wallets. There is a trending downwards, rotation of TAO in root. Although there was this huge spike, which is kind of similar from wallets to root, which means basically on this day, which is 20th of June, a lot of TAO was withdrawn from wallets sent to the to Bittensor blockchain, and then all of it was staked in the root. Right, and since then we see a decline here, a gradual, unfolding from 61.4% to 60.8. And during the same time, we're also seeing from 21st of June, we saw a decline first, but since then we're seeing a small but gradual increase in percentage of TAO and subnets. What this indicates, when you read it with this and all of this, there is now there is less conviction but more speculative activity beginning to happen in subnets. And if I go to the Pareto principle, it's very clear. Like if you look at the price changes on some of these tokens, like look at this one. This one is up 600%, guys. 600% in the last 24 hours. I don't even know what the name of this. So it's Subnet 39, right? Subnet 39 is up 600%. I don't even know what they do. Look at the same subnet over the last 7 days. Again, so you can see that this is something which has been happening over the last, entire week, where some people are basically just speculating on subnet 9. And this was up like 2000%, guys, like 20x in the last 7 days. And in the last 1 month, you can already see that this is again at the very top. Number 2 is Quantum, which is subnet 63, where I was reading on X a lot of FUD around Quantum, that when Const himself tweeted that, until they prove that they exist, it's just vaporware. And then on number 3, you have Merit subnet 73. Again, no clue what the F they do. So there's and over the long tail, you can see there's hardly anything happening, right? 4%, 3% interaction. So this kind of chart proves that a lot of speculative activity is happening. Speculative activity is happening into just a few, select tokens. So it's highly likely that maybe a lot of this is just speculators entering, exiting, and high voluminous work happening. And so, these charts clearly indicate that at the long tail, in the most of these subnets, they're essentially dead. Nothing is happening there. But in a very short number of subnets, you can see very high volume, very high speculative activity happening, right? So how do you play? How do you play this out? Again, on a volume basis, if you see Quantum subnet 63, look at its volume in comparison to the next one. Like it's ridiculous. It's 6x the volume in the last 1 hour. Again, for this one, which is subnet 39, over the last 24 hours, you can see this is like 800 versus 3400, right? So almost 4x or 5x the difference between number 1 and number 2 in terms of net buy volume. Same was the case over the last 7 days. Like almost there's a difference of more than double between subnet 39 and subnet 63, right? So, but interesting, I do see score here. I remain bullish on score, by the way, guys. I think I've covered it in one of my previous videos. I love the team. I love the fact that they built one of the most successful, AI agents, but more on that later. But you can already see a lot of skewness in the volume data, a lot of skewness in the price data, which indicates that there's speculative activity when you combine this with other metrics around sum of alpha prices, root staking that we just saw earlier. So what this tells you is, how do you think about these subnets, and what's the right way to kind of play them out, right? So let's talk a little bit about some of the ways that you can build a strategy, a portfolio that can basically allow you to do that, right? So let's first talk about the story. The fundamental story of TAO is this idea that we have a coordination layer. This coordination layer has an incentive layer built on top, which is powered by what is known as the TAO token. We have already seen some very interesting, successful subnet, AI products come out. So you have Subnet 44, which is Core Vision, which has built a computer vision model, which is now powering, guys, sports prediction agent called D-King, which is doing exceedingly well. So much so that they were able to ink a $300 million deal with a sports hedge fund, with a sports betting hedge fund, to manage a part of their portfolio completely autonomously, autonomously powered by the deking agent. So that's product market fit. Now have, you saw, if you're properly, keeping track of all of the news happening in crypto, but both Kalshi and Poly markets, which are the two largest like prediction markets in the world, both announced major fundraisers. Like Polymarket raised 200 million at a $1 billion valuation from Peter Thiel's founder fund, and Kalshi raised almost 185 million or so at a $2 billion valuation from many crypto native VCs, by the way, guys. So, this also included Multicoin Capital, the guy, who also backed Solana. So this is interesting. When you think about that and you think about subnets like such as Infinity Games, which has built Aeon, another AI agent to power these prediction markets, you can clearly see that you have fundamental projects building real inference, training real models, and using that to create APIs that are powering these agents. So fundamentally, whether it is these examples, or you look at Templar, which is trying to do decentralized training. You look at IOTA, which is again looking at doing decentralized training. You think about a lot of these subnets like subnet 56, 64, subnet 19, all all run by Rayon Labs, or the ones that are run by Macrocosmos. A lot of these different subnets, they are all very close to making either have a live and running product in the market, which has real utility, which is currently being consumed and people are paying for it, or they are very close to some kind of a breakthrough. Like I know I was reading about decentralized training the other day, and some of them have started to train like 15 billion parameter models over a decentralized protocol, guys. Think about it. It's huge. So fundamentally, the story has not changed, but we should also be realistic about what's happening in the market. I'm not somebody who's who will ever have a negative mindset towards what I really believe in. I really believe in the idea of decentralized AI, and I continue to be extremely bullish. But I also have to be pragmatic, because you have to ensure safety of capital in all situations. So if you just go out there and speculate all your TAO in these alpha tokens, you might end up with a bunch of alpha tokens which has no value, and you just feel like stupid. So I think a better bet would be to think about your TAO allocation. Let's say if you start with 100% of your TAO, I think it's a good idea to maybe have like a core TAO position, and that could be like 70 to 80% of your overall Bittensor allocation, right? And so what you can do it is, if you're unsure what to do with it, simply stake it in TAO, because just by staking it TAO, at this point you can make like 14 to 16% APY, because they're paying 70 to 80 TAO a day out. And I think that's a good strategy. That's a safe strategy, because you save yourself from all of the speculation that is happening right now, unless we see liquidity back, unless we see a consistent increase, not just in a few volume going into like one or two tokens, but you see that like nice wave of distribution that is happening in the long tail, and that's not happening. So yeah, I would say like think about allocating like 70% maybe to your to the quota holding. I think 60% could be into your 60% of this could be staked into the root, and you just farm your APY. Like maybe 10 to 15% could go into alpha subnets, and this is for high risk, high reward plays right now. Like there are certain indicators, and I'll talk about it very briefly. But you can look at this high risk, high reward plays, and use this 10 to 20% to essentially just take advantage of these speculative trends that are happening, and then you can have like about 10% of it just sitting idle in your wallet as dry powder, so you can take advantage of these alpha rotation opportunities. How do you play this out? Like here's a mental model to think about it, right? So the first thing is, just don't buy an alpha token randomly, because let's say if you do just open your connect to TAO app or TAO stats and decide, okay, this one is all green candles, let me just pump this. Like let's look at an example. Let's see one of these. Let's look at the subnet 39, right? Let's see what's happening there. So let me just go back to the main homepage, right? Let's look at this. Let's look at subnet 39. Let's look at the chart. Whoa, $13 million in buy volume. So it's still, people are still buying, people are still aping. And I'll tell you exactly why I think this is bad or not interesting for me. Okay, so you can see, and we're looking at the 30-minute chart, guys. So it was pretty much dead all the way from 25th of June till 26th of June. So these like 2 days, maybe nothing happening. You see a big spike here from almost nothing. It went to like 0.021 tau. And since then, we're just going crazy. The problem with entering into charts like this is, and also, maybe it's a good idea to look at what their HHI is if I have that data. Okay, I'm not able to, locate it. But here's the thing, like massive pump, right? Then people started taking profits. Again, you're seeing a renewed interest, more people coming in. What's wrong with this kind of a chart is there is no basis like where it will stop, because the only place it can stop is right here. So what we're seeing is a single top, maybe another top, and then we're gonna see a drastic fall. So don't become exit liquidity for whoever is pumping these tokens, guys. There's no reason for this to happen. I don't like nothing came out about this project. There's no fundamentals. It's not even clear what they're doing. Let me just click see what it is. It just takes me to Hugging Face, guys, like just a random landing page which says edge maxing dashboard. So not even sure what this is, and so also giving me an error. So like if you participate in something like as egregious as this, then God save you. I think but rather a better way to think about entering into any subnet alpha position at this stage is to maybe look at a combination of different metrics, right? So if I go into metrics right now and talk about what those metrics are, I think the first metric that we should all look at is, if we're looking at some kind of these speculative plays, first thing is obviously like price or FTV. If it's a low price or low FTV token, then the potential of it going into like 50s, 20, 30, 40 million is higher versus a token which is already sitting at 87 million. 1 billion, which is shoots of half a billion, which is Celium, almost 490 million, 440 million. It's very difficult for them to go leg up from there to do the next one, right? So you can already see the gap between 1 and 2. So look for low price in FTV. And then another indicator is look for volume, right? The net buy volume over the last 1 hour, which shows you a trend, a last 24 hours, which shows you continued momentum, or the last 7 days. And if you see, okay, this is already happening, and the market is yet to catch up. There's a net volume gradual increase, and I can see this in the top 3, top 5, top 10 coins based on the metrics that I just showed you right here. Then maybe it warrants inquiry, right? That I'm sorry, wrong link. But if I look at this, right? If I look at which are the ones which are in the top 10. So I have this one which looks like a total scam. So I have Merit, which is at number 2, and then I also see, I think Merit is right here as well. Yeah, Merit is here. Yeah, see, I don't even see Merit in the top 10 in the last 7 days. It just started trending, right? But it was trending in the last 1 month. Okay, so it is there in the last 1 month. I don't see it. I don't know where it is in the last 7 days. Let me try and locate. Yeah, but it is definitely here. So it's here, it's here. Okay, maybe this is something that I can keep an eye on and see there is continuous momentum happening. But another thing that I would like to see is low HHI. So if I scroll down here, there is this SSI. And the way you think about HHI is the higher it is, right, the more concentrated liquidity is. What this means is there are a few whale wallets which basically control all of the alpha tokens, and they can dump at any time. And basically, pardon my French, but basically fuck with us. So now say you can see that reinforced AI, dark insights, chunking, like subnet 29, subnet 48, like efficient frontier, subnet 23, 47, 79. 81, like top 9 or 10, which are the most like high HHI. I'd probably be careful playing them. So what I'm looking at is this sweet combination between low HHI, a high volume and continuous volume trending across all different ranges, right? And some kind of a price action. And so when I look at a low price combined with like increasing net volume, a low HHI, and growing like some kind of a narrative momentum behind it, I don't know, maybe, track X, follow a bunch of these folks, see why they are interested or talking about it. That could give you a directional insight into what's happening. And so basically, just by doing that, you can then participate in what I call rotational alpha plays, right? So think of it like a wave. Like when a trader rushes into a subnet, the price pumps. And so you want to enter early and exit before it pump. Now, I will concede this is much harder than I'm putting them in words. The way I'm articulating them in these words. But this is possible. And this is possible if you can, scan the volume over the, 1 hour, 24-hour chart to find what's heating. Check TAO needed to sustain this price. So that's also another very interesting metric. Like if I go to the metric section at the very bottom of this page, you have TAO needed to sustain prices. And so the green ones are the ones where you need less TAO to maintain the price of the token. And the red ones is where you see you need a lot of TAO just to maintain the current price of the alpha token. So if it needs less TAO and it is trending, it means that you have more price stability and the potential for it to go up is also higher. So I think these kind of plays, like combining 2 or 3 different metrics around volume, around TAO needed to sustain the price, around HHI, right? When all combined, you can easily figure out, how which place to kind of enter. So when the alpha price is low, FTV is tiny, volume is rising, right? You can start doing that, and then keep an eye on the realized PNL. When you see the realized PNL spiking, or when you see like volume dipping, that's your indicator to maybe just, okay, now is the time for me to start exiting. Play it smart. Don't put all your money. As I said, like whatever your portfolio is, 90% or 80% should go into the root for now. Put 10% into your wallet as dry powder and use 10% now for playing this game. Like put 20% into your wallet as dry powder, and then keep an eye on these metrics, see which ones work, which ones you can use. And then by kind of combining these metrics, you can actually organize your portfolio into many of these winning bets. So in the end, I just want to say, avoid 3 things. Don't FOMO into green candles. Green candles does not always mean good news. They mean good news most of the time, but they mean exceedingly bad news when it's a pump and dump play, right? Do not chase like high HHI subnets, because this could indicate an insider play or some kind of a centralization of liquidity, and a pump and dump scheme might be there, and it could basically be manipulated very easily. And do not overexpose yourself to alpha tokens. I know when prices are going down, they say when people come to buy when prices are high and sell when prices are low. But, and this is also true, I necessarily do not discount this argument, because I bought a lot of like Ethereum when it was at 1200, 1400 when it crashed. I bought a ton of Solana as well when it was like $50 or $60. Like not a ton, but like decent amount of Solana. And so for me, I think those are buying opportunities. But I will apply those ideas, those fundamental lens to in the most like top tokens. So if I look at the tier 1 tokens, I think I have my Gecko terminal open. So let me just share it with you one more time, and we can look at this together. So here, look at this watch list. So let me just actually open another one, which was, I have here the top 10 subnets by bucket cap or emission. So you can see, you have shoots, which is down like 3% in the last like 24 hours. And it has consistently been down. Like if I show you the chart, like I was surprised to see how much it has cracked. Like look at how much it has cracked. It's almost at its all-time low. But fundamentally, they're receiving like 15% of all TAO emissions. So it makes no sense for it to be priced at this range forever. I'm extremely confident that in no time it will recover most of its value. So when you're looking at fundamental projects like, Shoots, like Infinity Games, like Omron, like, many of these that we have discussed, again, sorry, I've the wrong page, but IOTA, Tau Hash, Templar, Targon, Gradient, these are like good projects. They have great teams. They've been extensively covered. Community has discussed them. These are active members of the community who keep sharing what they are doing consistently. So there is no concern from my end that, okay, hey, what's going to happen? Or look at our own portfolio that we've been exploring, like Score. We already know how much good work they've done. We know Riches is building like these software engineering agent cabals. We know Sturdy is building, Def AI. We know Hippias is building cloud. We know Gaia is building a weather prediction model. So we know about these projects. We understand them. And DEPs are presenting a buy opportunity for these tokens. And you can already see some reversal happening. Like, look at how much the price cracked. So you're pretty much entering at the ground floor here. And it went to like what, 4.1. So we're looking at how much upside at this point, right? If you enter here, we're almost looking at a 66% rise. And that's great for a project like this, which is just getting started, kind of competing in a space where weather prediction data is so huge. Their soil moisture data is going to be huge, play a big role in the world. So these are real problems, real companies building real products, and real people sharing real updates on X. When you get this kind of information, jump right in. But when you look at what's happening in the current state, and if you just want to speculate, then be smart about it. I hope, guys, this video was helpful to you. If yes, please tell me what you liked or disliked about this video. Share your comments, share your thoughts. As always, I know, it's very hard to see your positions go down, but I think it's okay. And if you play the long game, if you believe in something, and you see proof, you see evidence of those things happening, which I do, which I certainly do. I think TAO, both the TAO token and the subnets are offering extremely compelling opportunities, but we got to be smart, guys. So in summary, take your TAO in root, have a little bit of dry powder, play momentum games. You can buy a few fundamental subnet tokens if you do want it. With that, it's a wrap. I will see you again in another video. Sayonara.